Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today, we got a very special guest. This is actually somebody that I met. Man, we met probably a couple years ago, but I met him again in the sauna at OPS. And if you guys have been following me, then you would have seen my different posts about it. This is Kelly Byrd. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man. Great to be with you.
Yeah.
Always good to see you. Hi, Tony.
Hey.
So Kelly was he was a pastor for 27 years, I believe, right?
That's right.
Yep. And then he coaches CEOs, and then he helped Chuck Surak actually to sell his business. And I think that did you live in California?
Came to Fort Wayne. Yeah, I came to Fort Wayne 26 years ago.
Wow.
From Southern California. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about that journey then. Like, so you grew up in California, and then how did you end up in Fort Wayne?
Yeah, I was in ministry out in California when I was 20. In the culture that I was from, if you had a faith, if you were a leader and you could communicate, you should be a pastor. And so I did it, man. I jumped in when I was 21, began to pursue that, and did that for 27 years. Always enjoyed helping people grow. Always enjoyed seeing families, individuals, grow stronger in their faith, grow stronger in their relationships. Just loved it. And then there was a friend of mine who came to Fort Wayne from L.A., and was pastoring in Fort Wayne. He asked me to join the team out here at Blackhawk.
Oh, wow.
So I came in 96 and then became the senior pastor in 99. And it was just a great run.
Wow. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We give you marketing strategies like how to pull lists, who we target, and where we find the money.
We go over sales, which includes live calls and negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's anything that we missed, we will create a video to answer your specific question.
This knowledge has made us over $1 million, and we're selling it today for just $997. Click the link below. How did you end up becoming a pastor then?
Yeah, I was what I was saying earlier. I was 20 years old and trying to figure out which direction I was going to go. And again, I was in a culture, in a setting where if you could communicate, if you were a leader, and if you had a faith, you should be in ministry.
Is that from your family?
It was more just where I was going to church and friends and people that I respected. That was just kind of the mindset. So yep. I jumped in.
Wow.
Had thought about doing other things, but yeah, by the time I was 21, I was gonna jump into the ministry route and see if I could help people in that avenue.
I like it.
Did you come from like the big city LA, like the stereotype of like LA, like that sort of thing?
Yeah, Fort Wayne was a big switch.
Did you come from like a small niche town in California, or like what was the culture like there? Because the stereotype for California is for people to be like, "Oh, you believe in God? That's so cute."
Yeah.
Like the Valley Girls and that sort of thing.
It wasn't quite that way. It was a strong community, great people, great church. We had a great life. It was just an opportunity to be with a really good friend who was here, and so we jumped at it. And quite honestly, we loved LA. There was lots about it that we enjoyed. But the truth is, you look back today, and raising 5 kids in Fort Wayne, Indiana, was one of the greatest blessings. And we all would say the same thing. Our whole family just looks back on this journey here in Fort Wayne and what it's become and what it offered our kids and the kind of people that we got to be around, the values. Yeah, it was, in some ways, the stereotype when you're in L.A. and you hear about Indiana, the stereotype is, cost of living, slower pace, nicer people.
Nicer?
And it all kind of came true. Like, it was really, really a gift to get to raise our kids and call Fort Wayne home for a long time.
That's awesome. Did you have any kids while you were in California then?
2. Yeah, we moved to Indiana with 2 young ones, but had a few more once we got here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to school then? Did you go to college?
I did. Went to college, graduated graduated and then went to seminary, went to graduate school to become a pastor, and did that whole route.
What did you go to school for originally, or did you go for?
Yeah, originally when I went to school, it was for broadcasting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to be a sports broadcaster.
Wow.
And then I thought about physical therapy, wanted to stay close to sports because I was in sports. And then then eventually ended up heading down the ministry route.
Well, hey, full circle. We're back to broadcasting again.
Here we are. Yes. Yeah.
So what sports did you play?
I played high school football and basketball, and then I played basketball in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look like a basketball player.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
How tall are you?
If you guys can't
6'6".
tell,
Yeah.
Kelly is not a small dude.
No.
If you can't tell from the video.
Yeah. No, it was good. Those were good days.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Those were good days.
So actually, I want to ask you about. I believe there's a correlation between athletes and then like business people. It seems like a lot of times. So what do you think is like? You train a lot of elite CEOs, special individuals, and then you're an athlete yourself. Like, what do you think makes them different from other people?
Yeah, immediately what comes to mind is elite athletes, individuals, men and women that compete at a high level. It requires a tremendous amount of discipline, and it requires a tremendous amount of drive. And to state the obvious, there's just there's a level of competitiveness that I find in those who succeed in both arenas. Just an unrelenting, unwilling to accept anything but progress and victory and gain. Yeah, there's just a mindset in an elite athlete that you oftentimes find in those who lead and influence well.
I was doing a little bit of research, and it looked like you had done something with Blackhawk here locally.
Yeah, that was the church that I was the pastor of.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Blackhawk has a pretty good reputation around here.
Oh, it's a great place. Yeah, absolutely great place. We had a great 15, 16 years there. Absolutely loved it.
What did you do there?
Senior pastor.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
So you said that these people have like drive. Do you think that's a natural thing, or you think it can be taught, or where do you think like the drive comes from?
I think it's natural to a degree. I think it can be enhanced, though.
Yeah.
I think some people have a real internal sense of go, just a deep internal sense of drive. Some people just, I think the way they're made, their DNA, they've got that in them.
Yep.
And I've also seen people with that in them. I've seen that increased. I've seen that enhanced. I've watched drive grown in people. I think for those who don't have it, I think it's tough to manufacture it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's something that can be added to.
Okay. I was saying that's what I was thinking is like, I always want to have all these people have drive, and I want to help them to get it. And I'm like, man, like they don't have a desire to win or anything. And then like for me, it's like very saddening because I believe that's also like I don't know, success or happiness in some ways of like if you know that your potential is something and then you're not hitting your potential, then I believe that you're going to be very upset or just depressed in general. So for me, whenever I see these people complain and then like not doing what they say that they want to do, then I'm like, man, I just want to help them to get that so much. Then I'm like, man, like how do you help this person do that? So you're a pastor, so I'm sure you've seen this, but I want to like know how many people have you seen like change, and do you believe that people can change if they're in this like negative mindset, and how many people have you seen change?
Oh, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people transformed. And if you're talking spiritually, obviously that's a conversation.
Yeah.
If we're talking just in terms of personality and mindset and the way they approach life or the way they approach work or the way they approach business, absolutely as well. I mean, you really, there really is the potential, I think, for people to kind of go from here, from here to there.
Yep.
It's kind of the way I say it. And it's a challenging journey. It requires an enormous amount of discipline and sacrifice. It takes an effort beyond what most people are willing to make. You and I have talked about that a lot.
Yep.
But it is doable. It's attainable. Real, deep, genuine, thorough transformation.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records your incoming phone calls.
The system is simple to use and has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today. We put the link in the description. Check it out now.
Is possible.
Yeah. Let's talk about both then. Let's talk about like the spiritual. When you've seen people change spiritually, like what did that look like before, and then what did it look like after, and what do you think like was the catalyst and the difference for change, and then same thing for business?
Yeah, the answer that comes to my mind, Dakota, is it's kind of similar. Some differences, obviously, but what comes to my mind when you ask that question is when somebody gets spiritually transformed, or when somebody, in their approach to business, leadership, any entrepreneurial endeavor, like if we're talking spiritual or corporate, if we're talking spiritual or business, what I've seen over the years is that the very foundation of that transformation is when that individual stops being about them, and it begins to be about others. I mean, spiritually, when it stops being about me and I submit to Christ.
Yep.
You with me? Yeah, that's the beginning of unspeakable change.
Yep.
Yeah. When I die to myself and begin to live for Him, right?
Yep.
Well, business, it's not all that different. I mean, if in business I'm just about me, we know how that goes.
Yep.
It's pretty short-lived and never really gets you where you could have gotten. When it begins to be about others, when it begins to be about the team, when it begins to be about the client, when it really begins to be about the way in which you can serve, not get.
Yep.
You with me?
Yep.
It's kind of the same thing on both sides. Yeah.
I wonder with it seems like two different value systems that you end up operating out of, though, too, because when it comes to people who are very achievement driven, they usually have a really high sense of self and an ego. And so, with that, the folks that maybe don't want it as much, like don't want to accomplish, don't want to achieve, and that sort of thing, kind of believe that like there are certain things that are true, and there's the we, and I'm just doing this for my family or for my purpose and that sort of thing. They don't have the same drive and desire and push towards success and achievement and that sort of thing. Like it's almost a completely different value system in and of itself. And so I wonder, like it almost seems like two contradictory ideas where it's like, hey, I need to be disciplined and structured and believe in the we and in purpose and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I also need to hold myself accountable and desire to be better than I was yesterday and that sort of thing. So there's almost like a we and a me at the same time.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that is more of a problem with more successful people, like the ego, the I, almost pursuit of the self?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would just probably simply say this, that, and I'll just use the word you used, ego, like ego at its core, the way I understand ego. Ryan Holiday wrote this book called Ego is the Enemy. Like pure ego, I've never really seen that turn out well. So a lot of high performers that I'm around, on the other hand, have a strong sense of confidence. And I think there's a difference. You can be a high performer. You can have a go mindset. You can be driven, as deeply as the day is long, and care about others, serve your client, be continuously committed to improving yourself, and not be egotistical. There are those in the business world who are very much about themselves, and I think again that's a short-lived proposition. At the same time, I have no problem with high performers who grow in a real deep sense of confidence and an understanding of their ability and their gifts, and they use that to help others.
Yeah, I always find it interesting that people associate ego with like I don't know, like even talking about whatever they've accomplished. To me, it's just like stating facts. It's like, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, and then people are like, oh, you have a huge ego. I'm like, this is literally just I'm stating something that happened. I'm just telling you like history. Yeah. And that's what I've noticed too, is a lot of times whenever we actually accomplish these things, then we're able to help those people with the same thing that we just now accomplished because we overcame them. So then it's actually in order to help more people. If we do more things, then now we can help other people that have done the same thing as you. So that's what I think about. Yeah. Do you ever have to question your own intentions though? Like, okay, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? Or do you just like go with it? Because myself, I've noticed that sometimes I will like want to do something nice for somebody, and then I start questioning my intentions. Well, am I doing this because I want them to like me? Am I doing this for recognition? Am I doing it for this? And then I am not doing the good thing for this person. And then like I've gotten to a point now where I'm just like, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna do it. But have you ever like struggled with your own intentions?
A little bit, but yeah, I'd go with what you just said. I just would rather you go with screw it. I'm gonna do the right thing. Yep. I'm going to do the right thing that comes to my mind. Yeah. I think, because of the common faith that we have, you and me or the three of us, I think we understand even just kind of a basic look at what the scriptures teach us about the humanness that, we possess. We know we're pretty screwed up. Mm-hmm. We know that we're going to have faulty desires. We know there's times we're going to get selfish. Like that's just a given. Yeah. So that's there. We also know that the Spirit gives us the capacity to kind of, supersede that and function in a real sense, with the fruit of the Spirit. So I think, yes, we can question ourselves. I would encourage anybody to just go with that desire to help, to serve, to come alongside. Yep. Yeah. That's
why I said, I was like, I'm just going to do it and then I'll figure out my intentions later after it's already done. Yeah. And like I did that because I had noticed I would seriously hold myself back from like encouraging and stuff like that because I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to do it and then we'll figure out why.
Yeah. Yeah. But it'll get revealed.
This is like an open-ended question, but I think, I don't know. I'm always curious. What is success? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think success individually. I think success as a team, I think success as an organization, a company. I think, the couple of things I equate with success. Number one, first and foremost, is I believe success is growth. Mm-hmm. I believe that down deep in my soul.
That's exactly the same way I define it.
Yeah, And there's a lot that comes with growth. Mm-hmm. With growth comes more people. With growth comes more money. With growth comes more learning. With growth, there's a lot that comes with growth. Yeah. And oftentimes those things I just said get equated with success. I don't. Yeah, I equate growth with success. Period. Yep. And a lot will come with growth. Yep. But to be successful, I think is to grow. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's literally the same exact way that I define it.
Yeah, and I don't mind, and anybody can disagree with me on this. You can. We'll still be friends. It's okay. Yep. But I just, it's the way I'm wired, and maybe this goes back to the athlete thing that we were talking about. Yep. But the winning and losing, I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. I do. And I think success, I think the times that I've lost, have been really helpful in forming and shaping future success. Yep. I think the times that I've won, even to this day, wins, I equate with success. Yep. But the difference, I think, in me is I also equate losses. I don't like losing. Right. Can't stand it. But I believe the process, that we engage in the midst of or after a loss has a lot to do with success. Yeah.
I like it. What does losing mean to you? What does that mean? Or give us like an example of like your losses that you've experienced.
Yeah. I can think of the work that I do with CEOs. So CEO hires me to come in CEO, owner hires me to come in, work with him or her, and the team around him or her. Typically, in the work that I do these days, they're bringing me in because they want that organization, they want that entity, that company to grow. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to work with me, and if I'm going to work with them, then we're going to agree that the way that company grows, succeeds, because success is growth. The way that company grows is that group right there, that CEO, those 3, 4, 5 around him or her, they've got to be sharp. They've got to be growing. They have to be aligned. They have to be functional, not dysfunctional. And I've got to step in there and do everything within my power to challenge them, to confront them, to encourage them, to resource them toward growth. And there's times when, I knock that out of the park. Mm-hmm. And then there's times where I struggle. There's times where it doesn't go like I had hoped it would go. There's times where we could list a few things. But yeah, it feels like a loss. The growth isn't what I had hoped for. The progress isn't what I had envisioned. It sucks. I don't like the way that feels. I don't like, I can blame them or I can blame me. That's not, the blame game's never really productive. I just know something in that engagement. Yeah, I missed something, didn't provide something. And so I'm incessant in my self-evaluation. And there are times where it just feels like a loss. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's a hard thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I talk about, though, or what I'm thinking about whenever I ask you, like, about if people can change, like, if they don't have that drive and stuff. Like, so let's say you come into an organization and then you give them all the steps, and then they're unwilling to do the steps, and then you're like, okay,
that's on them.
Yeah, okay. So it's not like that. It's more like, okay, they're trying to do certain things, or they're implementing, not trying. Yeah. They're implementing certain things, and then it's just still not working out. Or
there are times where I see them making an effort. And my natural tendency is just to question myself. And it's a great process, even though it sucks. Yeah. It continuously pushes me to figure out, because you guys know, people are different. Yeah. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody's motivated the same way. Not everybody's inspired the same way. So I love the process. I just know there are times where I feel like I fell short. Losing is it's like sin. Mm-hmm. Like, how do we define sin? Sin is falling short. Mm. That's literally the definition of the word in the Greek, hamar. Yeah, it's to fall short.
Wow.
And so there are times where, in the business sector where, it's frustrating when you've fallen short.
Yep.
And just like with the spiritual analogy, what do you do when you sin?
Repent.
You repent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you agree with God about what happened, and you move in a new direction. Yep. And it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing, I'm doing in my ongoing journey of wanting to coach and challenge and come alongside in meaningful ways.
Yep. I got an interesting question actually about that, because I noticed a big correlation between what you talked about and then sales. So whenever I don't get a sale, then I'm starting to question myself. Oh, what could I have said? What could I have done? If there's nothing that I could have done, then cool. Yeah. And nothing to be upset about. But I can usually think of something that I could have done, said. But the interesting thing is that if I did something wrong and I still got the result of the sale, then now I'm no longer reflecting, even though I did it incorrectly. Do you ever self-reflect even when it went well and you're like, okay.
You have to.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. If you're working with me, if we're in it together and I'm coming alongside you as a leader or you and your company, we are going to do a deep dive after every win. Okay. Yeah, have to.
That's awesome.
We're going to do a deep dive after every loss. Yeah, but we are going to learn as much, if not more, from the win.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's it's super important for the mindset of an individual and those around him or her.
Yeah, that's a hard thing.
Yeah. Do you think that, or have you observed any collective characteristics or the way that an organization is set up or organized in such a way that you've seen like those types of organizations repeatedly fail? Have you witnessed that, like, among the culture, the organization, that sort of thing? What are those characteristics of organizations that typically end up failing?
Yeah. Yeah, lots comes to my mind. So first thing that comes to my mind is, and this could be small company, this could be mid-sized, this can be large, but when you have a leader who, and I'll talk often with CEOs that I work with, I'll talk about maintaining altitude. So again, whatever you're leading, you build a team, and whether that's 3 or 4 or 30 or 40 or 300 or 400, it doesn't matter. But what I see is really gifted guys and gals who are in positions of leadership, who build a team, and they've got a vision, and the team is often running, executing on the strategies, and that guy or gal can't help themselves. They just jump into the weeds. They get in everybody's business. They micromanage. They're disruptive. Yeah, you with me?
Yep.
It's just, there's something about great leadership that certainly is involved and aware, but they stay at altitude to the point where they allow a team and those who have been entrusted with the opportunity to run. And yeah, when that's honored and altitude is maintained, it goes really well. When it's violated and that guy or gal comes down into the weeds and changes this or addresses that or takes control of this, hey, scoot over, let me do it. Here, I'll show it. That's one of the things that comes to mind.
That sounds like trust, integrity, respect, drive, discipline, like just having
the other thing,
better character.
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed to your question, inevitably, time and time again, I'll watch certain endeavors just get off the rails because someone in leadership, that's two things, but they won't hold people accountable. And the flip side of that is they avoid crucial, difficult conversations. And it just is, it's like an epidemic. Super bright people who should know better, really smart guys and gals that run really big things, and they won't have a difficult conversation with someone, a conversation directly connected to performance, directly connected to outcomes, like the things going off the cliff, and they won't have the tough conversation. They won't hold people accountable. You and I have talked about this a lot. It's the absolute differentiator between successful organizations and those that struggle, those in leadership, truly holding people accountable.
Yep. I was actually talking to a guy about this the other day because he was asking me for advice on like holding his people accountable and stuff. And then we found out the reason that he's unable to hold his people accountable is because he doesn't hold himself accountable. So then he feels like a hypocrite whenever he holds them accountable. And so that's what I've noticed about, the tactics that you gave me actually is like now I'm able to hold people accountable to another level.
Yeah. First thing you and I ever did was I sent you a video of Andy Stanley. And the title of it was Leading Yourself Well. And you just said it. It's absolute gold, man. That is absolutely true. You will never hold anybody accountable. There will never be a culture of accountability beyond the culture of accountability that you yourself own. Yeah, it just won't happen.
So my big question is then the difficult conversations, like obviously the accountable, like I've been able to pinpoint that. That's because they're not holding themselves accountable. Once you get your accountability, you can now hold other people. How do you get to have those difficult conversations, or like what is holding people back from that? And what do you think will like help them to?
Yeah, it's a great question. A couple things. First of all, most folks don't have the difficult conversation. They avoid the crucial interaction that needs to happen because they're afraid of what the other person's going to think. It's like basic people-pleasing 101. Right? So many times, the difficult conversation is avoided because I'm concerned about how this is going to go. I'm concerned about what they're going to think of me. I'm concerned, what if they quit? What if I lose them? On and on and on the list goes. What we've learned, and what I work with my clients on just consistently, is the fact that at the foundation of a crucial conversation has to be, don't have it if it's not this. If the foundation of the crucial conversation isn't the fact that you love them, that you care about them. Like you want them to get better.
Yeah.
Something's not right. And whether it's performance or character, whatever it is, when a leader can look at a crucial conversation and say, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to actually care for this person. It's got to be very personal, and it's got to be rooted in this sense of love.
Yeah.
I've got a talk that we do on crucial conversations. There's a 5-step process to having a crucial conversation. And the first step is it starts with heart. Most people start with being pissed off.
Yeah.
Most people start with, I'm fed up. Most of them start with, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. Yeah, it's the wrong starting point. It's got to start with heart.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's got to be about their improvement.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said too. Like you just got to a good point, which is that if you let resentment build for too long, then like something that I failed at huge when I was a team leader in AmeriCorps was I let people get away with stuff for way too long because I didn't like authority, didn't like the rules, didn't want to write people up consistently. Yeah. So I didn't write anybody up. And then when it was actually time to write somebody up, I was like screaming at people. And so it was like I let all of the resentment build up to the point. And there's something to be said about taking care of things while they're still small rather than waiting for them to turn into a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
What are the other 4 steps?
Of a crucial conversation?
Yeah.
Free lesson today.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah.
You're asking Kelly to work for free.
Yeah. Crucial conversation. Number 1, it starts with heart. You got to care. It can't be for any other reason. And if it is, don't have it. Okay. Wait. But you got to think that through. It's got to start with this genuine desire to see that person get better.
Yep.
Number 2, you have to make it safe. I don't like that word. I don't like the word safe. In this context, I'm okay with it because when we say, you got to make it safe, a really effective, crucial conversation that starts with heart, it doesn't go to then, get your ass in my office.
Right.
Like that's okay. Now we just lost them.
They're not open.
Yeah. I talk about all the time when we were raising our kids out on Crawford Road, we had a half mile down to the end of the road, half mile back. And when it was time to have a difficult conversation with a kid, or even sometimes my wife and I, we would say, hey, let's take a walk. Safe.
Yep.
Right? Let's take a walk. Let's get a coffee. Let's go, let's meet after work for 15 minutes. Maybe we can, it's just, there's a way that you posture this conversation that really allows that person to feel a sense of, okay, we're going to have a talk.
Yep.
And they can know that it might even be serious. They can sense that in your tone maybe. But it's the way that you ask it. It's the place that you're going to have it. There's a way to enter into that allows them to feel a sense of, okay, I'm fine. This is going to be okay. Might be hard. Yeah. But it's going to be all right. Thirdly, you say it all. Okay. Huge misstep in crucial conversations is that you start to have it, and then they start to what? They start to argue, or they start to cry, or they start to close down, and you're like, oh crap, forget it. Yep. In your mind, you're going, forget it. I'm out. I'm going to just back out of this thing. Yep. We'll come back to this tomorrow. And you just can't do it. You've got it. If in fact you start with heart, and this is about loving them, and you've provided a setting that's actually safe, then you got to say it, and you got to say it all. Fourthly, you got to solicit feedback. It's a tough one. It's called a crucial what? Conversation. It's not a crucial lecture. It's a conversation. So if we're going to have a conversation, let's converse. I'm going to say it all. And then I'm going to say to you something along the lines of, did I miss anything? Am I making sense? Are we on the same page? Anything you want to add to this? Do you understand where I'm coming from? There's a whole lot of ways you can say it, right? Yep. But there's a way to solicit feedback that gives them the opportunity to respond. Now, you guys know and I know there are times when that's dangerous because that can just get off the rails quick and they can start going down this road.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about.
And that's where you have to have the fortitude and the strength to say, whoa, stop. Like, we're not going. Yeah, I'm asking for feedback on the specifics of what I just said. I want us to be able to make some progress with this. We're not going down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, fifth is the ball game. You can do 1, 2. You can start with heart. You can make it safe. You can say it all. You can solicit feedback. And there are times when I have started with heart, made it safe, said it all, solicited feedback, and it's gone well. And I think, okay, I'm done. It worked. Like, we got through it, right? Mm-hmm. 5 is the ball game. You don't do 5 and you lost. It was all an utter waste of time. 5 is establish next steps. You can't have a crucial conversation about this issue and not end the conversation with some mutually agreed to accountability.
Okay.
There's got to be a sense of, where are we going from here? This was good. Thank you for doing this. Let's get back together next Friday. And let's talk about some of the progress that you've made. And here are some suggestions. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep. Wow. That's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's like I said earlier, super bright people who I work with every day, who run really big things and who know more than the 3 of us combined. Won't do that because that's hard.
Yep.
And guess what else? It takes what? Time. And everybody's going to say they're too what?
Busy.
Yeah. That's why I hate that word.
Yep.
I wonder when you say establish next steps, say it's like in an intimate relationship, like your partner, and do you have to have a plan as to what the next step should be beforehand, or can it be?
I think you have to have a plan, or the 2 of you have to come up with a plan.
Yeah, together.
Yeah. This conversation, this is me. It doesn't have to be you guys. A crucial conversation of this nature needs to move toward growth. If something's not right, if something's not as it should be, I want to move it in that direction. So that's going to take, next steps. We got to have a plan for this to get better. So with an employee, that might mean I come with a little bit of a plan. With a spouse or a significant other, I might want to go easy on the, hey, here's your 3 steps. But we still might together want to collectively collaborate on how are you going to go forward from this.
I got a real life example that it's so funny that we are talking about this, because like ever since I met you and I heard about the difficult conversations, I was like, all right, there's a couple.
Yeah.
One of them was obviously with my girlfriend at the time. That was a very difficult conversation that I had. And then one of them just actually happened recently with a good friend of mine. I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but I felt as if, I did start with the heart, because obviously I had his best interest in mind. I was like, dude, I care about you, and I wanted to have this conversation with him because it was about his ego. Basically, I felt as if it was getting out of control, and I was like, dude, it feels as if you want everything to be more about you, and it doesn't feel as if you're caring about people anymore, which is not you. You've actually got off track from when I met you, which is like what attracted me to like be such good friends with you, such a giver, and I know you're caring, and I know you're a loving dude. So then I feel like we made it safe. I said everything. And then like the soliciting the feedback, that was an interesting thing, because exactly what you said is like it felt as if like, okay, well, let's turn it around on now. Actually, I think you're this way, and it's like, okay, I can appreciate that. But the thing that I feel as if I didn't do very well was establish next steps. How would you establish next steps in like a friendship kind of thing, where it's like we didn't come to an end result, and everybody's like, how'd the conversation go? I was like, I don't know. I think it went well. I don't know. I told him everything I want to say, but I didn't establish next steps. So
and I'm always gonna, when I'm describing the steps, I'm always gonna come off a bit more definite.
Yeah.
Which we need to when we're having a conversation like this. Having said that, every conversation is different. I'm going to establish next steps with an employee in a different way than I might with my kid, in a different way than I might with my spouse. You with me?
Yeah.
In that situation, I think it's okay for you to say, hey, for whatever it's worth, here's a couple of suggestions. I've known you for a while. I've seen you at your best. Lately, it hasn't seemed that way. And I'm just inviting you to think about this and this.
Yeah. Okay.
Next steps.
I guess I did do that a little bit. Actually, I said, because like he didn't all the way believe me. I said, dude, ask for feedback from your friends, because I promise you I'm not the only one who's thinking these things. I'm just the only one who's willing to do it. Right. And we had another hard conversation the next day because of how hurt he was. And I was like, dude, honestly, it hurts me to tell you this. And like, it's not easy for me. And I do care about you. And he said, well, I felt as if it was a lack of respect. And I was like, dude, the reason that I told you this is because I respect you. Yeah, I said, that is the whole reason I told you, because I know you can handle this and I want what's best for you. And I think you can actually do this. So it's because I respect you that I'm willing to have these hard conversations. So it was
well said.
It was very difficult. But now, again, it just continues to get flipped back, and where it's like, well, I hear other people talk about you and all this stuff. I'm like, I get it. And honestly, like, I was going to say this. I think there is some ego. From me as well. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what that portion is, but there's definitely some ego there. But it's like I'm continuously fighting it. And like, I'm just letting you know that right now your ego's winning. I'm not saying that it's you or anything. I'm just saying that like we have to continue balance this, because it's there. And there's no question whether or not it's there. It's just how much is it there and how much is it showing up.
That's good. That's good. Faithful wounds of a friend.
As a pastor and as a coach, do you sometimes, or like, how do you manage your relationship so that you're not necessarily pushing your expectations on others or getting overly critical? Because as someone who generally is looking for problems and then identifying like ways to create structure and give these people opportunities to win, how do you still make sure that in your intimate relationships and even with other people that they're like, I don't really want to do that, that you're still like kind of managing your expectations and not coming across as being overly critical?
Well, first of all, you said as a pastor. Now, I'm no longer a pastor. No longer a pastor, now coaching and working with CEOs and their teams. At the same time, in my working with CEOs and their teams, I look back on my 27 years, and I'm really thankful for the fact that I still have the same heart. Like, I still want people to grow. I want them to get better. I want them to excel. I want them to move forward. To your question specifically, if you're going to hire me, all right, I hope this doesn't sound too crass, but if you're going to pay me, I'm going to do my job, and I will be unrelenting in my pointing out what needs to be pointed out, sharing the observations, addressing the failure, giving time and attention to the growth opportunities, unrelenting, never holding back, always being willing to talk about that. In other situations in my life, I do have to be careful. I've got friends, I've got family who aren't paying me. I don't have to be the coach to everybody. But at the same time, with my kids, with my family, with friends, you'll never hear me apologize for having a high bar for you. You should just, be better. You should just do well. You should do the right thing. There should be, anyway. So it's different in some ways, but in some ways it's not, and I don't apologize for it. I think everybody in my life, including myself, I've got a reasonably high bar for.
Have you? I just noticed this actually recently with my girlfriend. She said some things like, well, if I work, if I get mandated to work this long, then I'm not gonna work out. I'm like, that's an interesting statement. So you're saying if you got mandated every day that your health is no longer important, you're gonna let other people dictate whether or not you're healthy or not?
Right.
So to me, it's just like their language is very important. So then I'm like, am I being overcritical or stuff? Or have you gotten any kickback from your wife whenever you are like helping her work through what she just said?
Yeah, there are times.
Okay.
I've gotten feedback from her or from others. And again, I've got to be humble enough to think. Usually it's not the content. Usually it's the delivery. Usually, the message that I've got for someone, for the most part, that's usually probably pretty right.
Yep.
How I say that, how I come at that, there are some things to consider, when you're talking about your team and you're talking about your girlfriend.
Yep. I said that's what a friend of mine, actually, the guy who's calling, he says there's effective and more effective. So like what you said, you can be all the way accurate, which was the way I always was like, oh, I just said the right thing. I know I'm right, but it doesn't matter if they don't receive it and they're not making a change. Then what does it really matter? Did you actually help them? It's like you have to question the delivery.
I don't say this to clients obviously all the time, but I function this way. Bible says speak the truth in what?
Love.
In love. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we waste too much time wanting to be right. And I think we should spend more time wanting to be loving.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. And I think if it's your girlfriend or your team, and you got to figure out the tone and you got to figure out the setting, but if what's motivating that is love, it's back to crucial conversation, right?
Yep.
Starting with the heart. If what's motivating that is love versus being right or accurate,
Yep.
that's a totally different ballgame.
Yep. The funny thing is, I want other people to speak and just give it to me raw. Give it to me. If you're a jerk when you say it, I don't care because I just want to know what you're actually feeling. So you don't have to express it to me in the nicest way possible. That's for me to deal with. So it's my responsibility. Whenever I'm giving it, I'm thinking the same thing as like, no, I need to do this in love.
Yep.
Again, I think a lot about that Bible verse because I had a friend of mine who did some stuff and I'm like, dude, I think you did that wrong actually, and I was like being like more of like the judgment kind of person where I was like, no, you deserve justice and like this is bullcrap. And then that day at Bible study, we went over the verse where it's like basically like you can know all knowledge of everything. You can have faith that moves mountains. You can have basically everything in the world. And if you do it without love, it's all meaningless. And so that's again what I think about a lot of times whenever I'm questioning my intentions, whenever I'm questioning whether I'm right or anything. It's like, dude, am I doing this out of love or not? That's the most important thing. Because if we're doing it out of love, then just do it, and the rest will figure itself out.
Yep, that's it.
So how is your relationship with your wife? What does that look like between you guys?
Yeah, we've been together for, we just celebrated 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
5 kids.
Older than both of us.
Yeah.
More years than we've been around.
5 kids, 35 years. Really thankful. She's a tremendous strength.
Mm-hmm.
She's been a huge encouragement and help in all that I've done for all these years. She's just been fantastic.
What's the best relationship advice you have? You think it's like expectations in the beginning, the person, while you're growing, like what is the best thing that you can do to like keep that?
Best relationship advice, would be like a weekly meeting.
Okay.
sounds pretty simple. I mean, there's a lot to that, but relationships. You hear people talk about growing apart.
Mm-hmm.
You hear people talk about kind of losing touch. You woke up one day and it wasn't the person you married. Like it's all kind of it sounds kind of corny, but that stuff doesn't happen
by accident.
If every single week, if on a consistent basis, there is time set aside to talk, to listen, to have fun, to touch base, to ask questions. It's super basic, but it's the foundation of a lot of really great relationships. Just consistent communication, listening, problem solving.
I love it. I have a feeling I know the answer to this because you seem like a pretty structured person, actually. Even even your prayer is structured, and I love that. It's helped me a lot, actually, like with my prayer and everything.
Oh, the acts?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what is your structure for your weekly meetings? Like, do you have certain questions that you guys like consistently ask or that you go over, or what kind of things do you go over in that meeting?
Yeah, it's interesting. We started having the weekly meeting when we started having kids.
Wow.
So 30 years ago. And it was kind of funny because they were little kids and they were in diapers and we had this old guy say, you should do this. And we just listened to him and did it. And so we started having Sunday night meetings with the kids.
Wow.
And it was sometimes 8 minutes, was all we could get,
Yep.
And when they were little, it was, maybe a little story and a prayer and, and hugging on each other all the way to when they were teenagers going over schedules, going over weekend plans, going over what we learned in church that day, praying together, praying for each other. Again, really basic stuff, but foundational stuff for the functioning, not the dysfunction of, but the functioning of a relationship or relationships. So for years and years and years, it's been pretty basic. Schedule, needs, recent learnings, Yeah, how can I help? But it's just as simple as that sounds. It's been unbelievably fruitful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys talk about vision very often? So, like, obviously you have a vision for your life and where you're going. She has a vision for her life, and then obviously they need to, like, kind of be aligned.
Yes.
Do you guys talk about that a lot?
Talked about it for years.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's in the weekly meetings too?
Yep, absolutely.
Got it. Did you guys talk about that in the beginning of the relationship?
We've talked about it for years.
Wow.
Years and years and years, yeah. And, yeah, I think I have a pretty good idea. And that changes, right, over 35 years. That gets shifted, that gets adjusted. But, yeah, really important that you both know deep down inside, where the other one dreams of going, where the other one wants deeply, what they want to attain to, where they want to go, what they want to see. Yeah, really important.
I found that so difficult to, like, decide how much of it is like the person, how much is it aligned with the vision. Because like I've been listening to a lot of relationship stuff recently, and they ask some questions that I never thought about. It's like, we talk about non-negotiables, what we're not willing to accept, all that things. Like, what are you willing to accept though? What is the things that you're willing to give up?
Yeah.
Have you like ever had to like define that? Because obviously it's not always going to be like everything that you wanted and you guys are going to be aligned all the time. So like you have to be willing to sacrifice, but then it's like how much sacrifice and that, or is it just more about the commitment? Because after you're committed, then it's like, yeah,
even though you're committed though, there has to be sacrifice. Even though you're committed, there has to be a level at which you're willing to, based upon the relationship, scale back, scale forward, pivot.
Compromise.
That's the thing, Dakota. If you're in it, and if she, if this guy and this gal are in it, then and there's that commitment, then the compromise, then the adjustment, then the pivot from time to time has to be trusted. If we're assuming their motives are good, if we're assuming their motives are right, then that's where we roll up our sleeves and say, let's figure this out.
I like it.
That's kind of funny. I wonder if, thinking of the Bible, since you were previously a pastor, I wonder if there was sort of a moment where Jesus did that with his mom, where his mom's like, hey, I really need you to get some wine around. And he was like, really? I'll do it for you, Mom, because I love you.
Exactly.
All right, we'll get into some closing questions. We got about 9 minutes left. So what is your why?
Yeah, my why is, I get up every day wanting to make a transformational difference holistically in the lives of those I coach and spend time with. I'm not interested in a transactional relationship. I have no interest at all. I want to be involved with the clients I work with the individuals I coach, the teams I come alongside. I get up every day to be a part of a transformational experience with them. And I say holistic because, as you and I have talked, I'm very interested in your business. I'm very interested in your progress in terms of an organization. But I believe, I used to think this, now I know it, that your spiritual health or emotional health, your physical health, and your relational health, closest circle, whoever that is in your life, right? I believe like those three, the degree to which you're growing and being strengthened in those first three ties directly to your professional performance. I've seen it 100 times. You can be the smartest guy or gal at the table, and the rest of the stuff can be a dumpster fire. And you can manage that for a while, but eventually, like that catches up to you. So yeah, that's my why. My why is to get up every day and be a part of a transformational, holistic growth pattern in the lives of those that I coach and work with.
I love it.
What would you say is your biggest struggle right now?
My biggest struggle is, I would say my biggest struggle is wrestling with the fact that there are parts of me, I turn 60 next March, And there's a part of me that thinks, I think probably because of the way we've been programmed, there's a part of me that thinks, okay, I should at some point here, I should probably start slowing down. And I don't mean that like in a lazy way,
Right.
but to do other things, right?
Yeah.
You know? And yet there's not an ounce of me that wants to, in any way, shape, or form, slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think about my wife, I think about my kids, I think about my 2 grandkids, I think about, there are things I'd like to do. Yeah, all that's true, and yet there's this just massive part of me that just wants to keep going. Mm-hmm. So I'm struggling with that, to your question. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what I've always thought about, honestly, too. I'm like, oh man, am I ever going to get to the point where I do feel like I can like just chill, slow down? But I don't think so. Yeah. I think that God like put the desire in our heart for a reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're living it out. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's fun.
What is the, well, actually, we already kind of went over this. What is your best, favorite, or most interesting failure that you like learned the most from?
You know, when I was young, yeah. So before 21, or right around that time frame, I got fired from a job. I got fired from a job by a guy who was super bright, really smart, loved me a lot, cared about me deeply. And he had hired me, to do this work. And it was hard work, and it was difficult work. And I was used to people stuff. I was used to leadership stuff. Mm-hmm. I was used to wowing you with my personality and my ability to communicate and my ability to be close to you. And that's the way I approached everything. And this work that I had been hired to do it was just damn hard work. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do it. I was lazy. I made excuses. And he fired me. And it was the first time I had ever experienced that reality. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. It was tough stuff. And yet it was the point at which I realized my personality and my way with people and my ability to talk, it was all good. But whatever I was doing, you do your work heartily as unto the Lord, right? Like you work hard. And that was that my life changed at that moment.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a huge lesson, massive failure, really embarrassing, and I was never the same.
Wow. That's awesome. Man, I wish we could get more into that. I like talking about like hard work.
Started with this one.
Yeah, because everybody talks about hard work, and then they say just continue to work hard, which is an interesting thing because you have to have a balance of hard work, but then you also have to be working towards the right thing. Because if I was still doing landscaping, it was hard work. I was moving rocks, and dude, it was rough. I worked 12 hours a day, sometimes 14, and it was hard. But I would have not gotten anywhere if I continued to work hard. So it's like hard work and by itself is not enough, but you do need it as well. So it's interesting.
Those were early years, and it was good for me to learn how to. Yeah, I went from that and got a construction job.
Wow,
which I had never done, and spent 3 years in construction and framing, and worked my ass off, and it was the best 3 years of work, and it shaped me and formed me and changed the trajectory of my whole mindset toward.
That's awesome.
Yeah, real effort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. We will ask the 70 years from now.
All right. I was going to say 40 years from now.
Okay.
There you go.
Dakota wants you to live to 130. I think you're going to live to about 100.
Great,
so
thanks.
40 years from now, you're on your deathbed.
Yeah.
And you have one final message to the world. It's a mantra, a paragraph, a sentence. It's something that you feel is your legacy, you communicating to the world your message that you feel that the world needs to hear. And so you have one last thought that you can express. What is that?
Yeah, well, I would probably say, like 19 things come to my mind. There's this video going around the internet these days by gal who's the head basketball coach at Duke, and she talks about handling hard better. And it's a girls basketball coach at Duke, and the context is clear, and she's talking to her team, and it's good. But that's so rich. I mean, that's a biblical message. That's a personal message. That's a business message. That's a relationship message. And I want people, for the rest of my days and beyond, and I want this for my kids. I want this for those that I work with. Life is hard. It never gets easy. There's never like around the corner, ever. It's just always hard. There's always challenges. There's always setbacks. There's always heartache. Is there joy and good times? Yes. But yeah, this idea of just kind of hanging in there because it's going to get better is it's a lie. And the real opportunity we have in our life is to handle the difficulty well. Relationships, faith, business, you pick it. I want people, and will always want the people I love and know to handle. Jesus said, in John, he said, in this world you will have tribulation, trials, difficulty. So the coach from Duke is right. There is no let up. It will always be difficult, and the degree to which you handle that better is the degree to which, you will have success. Great question.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. How can our listeners get a hold of you if they're interested in talking, coaching, anything like that?
Yeah, anybody who'd want to talk to me can just email me at kbyrd, K-B-Y-R-D, kbyrd4707 at gmail.com. kbyrd4707 at gmail.com.
I like it. Well, yeah, you guys heard it here first. Tony and Dakota podcast. If you guys have been following me, or you guys have been seeing progress in the last 4 months, a lot of you guys have been asking who my coach is. This is the coach. So reach out to him. He will help you change your life. Obviously, my life has been significantly different in the last 4 months, which was from the structure. Obviously, you're going to have to put in the work, but it's from the structure that he actually gives. And I'm sure that you guys can tell you just provide a lot of free value here today. So,
and real quick, at the beginning you said, are we still on?
Yep.
Yeah, at the beginning you said, I helped Chuck sell Sweetwater.
Yep.
Yeah. The way to say that is Chuck gave me the privilege of working at Sweetwater for about 8 years in the executive coaching capacity. In that process, as that winded down, Chuck sold Sweetwater. He didn't need my help. But I got to be a part of growing that culture, and I got to be a part of his life, and so thankful for the years that Chuck and the team at Sweetwater gave me to be a part of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Good clarification, because, obviously they had to put in the work and everything, and that's the same thing. If you guys want coaching, you're going to have to put in the work, but he'll help give you the structure and give you all the tools necessary. You just have to use them.
Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
guys.